Hey everyone, and welcome back to another gold making video. Today's video is less of a guide and more of an experiment, but the gold earnings are potentially very good here, and there will be a few handy tips for soloing some of the raids and just one or two of the bosses that I know people find a bit tricky. So we all know that doing the Cataclysm 25 heroics is worth doing for gold. Well, I got curious to see what it would be like if I did every single raid in the game that is currently soloable for level 100 characters. That's basically everything up until Mists of Pandaria. Of course, the MOP 10s, they don't really make a great deal of money, but I'll research that stuff later on. Anyway, for some reason, I thought this would only take a few hours, but overall, I think the project ended up taking over 6 hours, so this is not something to be taken lightly. Basically, I went through all of the raids, and I vendored any of the bits of gear that were not useful for transmog purposes, and when I say transmog, I mean selling to people for transmog, though I did keep the golden bow of Kel'Thas for myself. I didn't vendor that. All BOEs that were worth basically anything on the AH were kept, or at least a decent amount, though honestly I did end up just vendoring all of my BOEs because I cannot be bothered with selling on the transmog market. It's so slow and I just don't have the time. Now, most of the cloth from these legacy raids is not of much use. I only got 42 Ember Silk cloth overall, with Ember Silk being maybe one of the more useful ones for Ember Silk bags, but there are better ways to farm Ember Silk cloth, of course. Rune cloth, frost wool, and netherweave just aren't really worth bothering with. Overall, no professions were used. I just entered the raids, killed what I found, and looted all of the stuff. And it was really simple. Everything is easily soloable, and I'll just give you some quick kind of, one sentence long strats for some of the fights that kind of hitch people up. So for Razorgore, just use the orb to grab him, and then move him behind your character. Then keep channeling the orb until no more ads spawn. Then, just use Razorgore to run out and destroy all the eggs by standing beside them and hitting 4 on your keyboard. For Valiona and Thralian, just use a damage mitigation ability when Blackout is cast. Then for Sinestra, just fight her regularly, then stand behind the shield when the Kaelin dude comes, and then after her big large channel ability, nuke her down, then nuke down her eggs once they become vulnerable, and then finally kill her for good. Then for the Spine of Deathwing, well, screw that boss, seriously, I hate it so much, but you just run from left to right, which will continuously reset his roll timer. Then these little ooze dudes spawn, and you just want to let them attack you, don't kill them right off the bat. Some larger ads will also spawn, and basically what you want to do is eventually get loads of the ooze guys all just whacking you at once, then kill them. When you kill the oozes, they drop a little puddle on the floor, and then you kite the big mobs over that puddle. Then, whenever you kill those big mobs, they explode, so you want to kill the big mobs at Deathwing's armored plates, so they blow his plates off and expose his tendrils, or tendons even, and then you kill the tendon, and you just need to do that 3 times. It's a pain in the ass, most of those fights are a bit of a pain in the ass, but you know what, it's actually really easy to pull off if you just know what to do. Anyway, you all know how to solo this stuff, and I'm just going to jump right into the gold breakdown. Now, my early record keeping wasn't that good, but there's not much gold to be made in the earlier raids, if I'm completely honest. So for Anchorage and, or not Anchorage, for Blackwing Lair and Molten Core, I made 337 gold just from the vendoring. From AQ 10 and 20, I made 372 gold. From doing Magtheridon's Lair, Serpentrine Cavern, and roughly the first half of Black Temple, I made 541 gold, and then the other half of Black Temple made me 163 gold. Tempest Keep netted 307, Karazhan netted 315, and then about 6 hours later I did Sunwell on another character because my main had it on lockout, and Sunwell made me about 400 gold. Then moving on to Wrath of the Lich King, Sartharian and Halion made 315 gold between them. In Nax 25 I made 914 gold. In Ulduar I made 614, in ICC I made 644, and then in Trial of the Crusader 25 I made 533. Of course, it goes without saying, everything here I did in the highest difficulty, so that was 25 heroic for the newer stuff, 25 for some of the other Wrath stuff, and then, either 40 or 25 or 20, whatever, for the older raids. Vault of Archivon made a measly 110 gold, and Eye of Eternity made an even worse 40 gold. Moving on though to where the real money's made, we've got Blackwing Descent, which made 1,521 gold. Then Bastion of Twilight made 1,261 gold. And then after that, that's not called Demon Soul, it's called Dragon Soul. Dragon Soul made 2,190 gold. It's a really good moneymaker. Then Alakir's Place made 179 gold, but due to a bug I couldn't actually loot the first boss, which was a bit weird. And then Firelands made 2,117 gold. Overall, I think I'm at about 12,005 gold, yeah, on my main character, and then the other 400 on my other character that I did Sunwell on. So that's 12,500 gold in just raw gold that's in my bank. That's not to do with professions, not to do with selling stuff in the AH, that's what I got from vendors. Now, transmog items and patterns overall were worth about 5,000 gold, though this is a highly dependable number based on your server, and honestly that transmog stuff just takes such a very, very slow time to sell that I couldn't be bothered, so I sold the whole lot of them for about 200 gold, and I'll try to sell the patterns off at a later date. I also got 4 battle pets. Now the battle pets are interesting. At level 1 they're worth about 500 gold each from what I can tell. However, leveled up, they are actually worth between 2 and 5k on most servers. Now, when I include the pets, that's another 2,000 gold on my total, but if I was to actually level them up to 25, then that could be maybe roughly, say, 10 plus, maybe 10 to 12,000 gold, maybe a little bit more, which is obviously quite a lot. Getting a pet level 25 doesn't take too long, and I recommend checking out Asmongold's guide in the video description. He just gives you the best way to do it from what I can tell. I'm not really into the pet battles though. Now on the whole you're looking at 12.5k plus maybe 5k for the transmogs and patterns, and then about maybe 2,000 gold for the battle pets if you don't level them, and then if you do level them, of course that's between 2 and 5k per pet, which let's just say equals maybe 12,000 gold. So technically, if I was to sell everything that I got here, I would be making I don't know, 27, 29k, but realistically, I've got 12,000 gold in my pocket. The other steps require a good bit more effort, and most of that is actually from leveling the pets, which will probably take a few hours, even when you do use those methods that kind of speed them up. Now, I'm not saying this is the best way of making gold, I just thought it was an interesting experiment. You now know what sort of numbers I got. There are probably better patterns and rarer patterns that could have dropped. There are probably rarer transmog items that could have dropped. I didn't get any transmog items that were worth a particularly large amount of money, so if you do get lucky, maybe you'd make more money from something like this, but that's just what I've got. Is this how I'm going to make gold on my characters? No, it's not, because I've got 9 level 100s, and I can just game the garrison system and treasure hunters to make as much money as I need doing hardly any work. I mean, I made 12k today doing this. I make about 10k a day on my garrison anyway, and it just takes a few minutes per character, so obviously that, if you have that many characters, is by far the easiest way to make your gold. But anyway, look, I just thought it would be interesting to see what all this stuff would be like, so hopefully you guys found it too. Thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you next time.